just like the way the headphones look.
Well,
Cool.
welcome to Let's Go Live. I'm Gigi Mara, and I have with me romance and romantic suspense author D.W. Brooks. Welcome, D.W.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, and you're a fellow Houstonian like me.
I did not know that. I mean, I don't know why I didn't know that. I should have known that, but I actually figured it out at an event earlier this month because um, they had your name still on the table, and I was like, oh, I get it. It uses a romance.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Was it the table up in Conroe?
Yeah,
They never contacted me back, so I thought I didn't get the table.
yeah, no, yeah, your name was on the table.
Oh no. Yeah, I never heard back. I wasn't included. I think they're supposed to set up like a Facebook group. I never got the invite.
Oh, sorry.
I'll need to reach out and be like, hey, y'all, what happened?
Yeah, no, because I think your table was right across from mine. So I saw it and went, oh, I didn't know she was from Houston. I don't know why I didn't know that.
Oh, well, thank
Well,
you for letting me know that.
I figured you were out of town. Because I know you said you'd been traveling a little bit more. So I figured you were just out of town.
I wish, because I would have loved to have gone. That would have been my first one.
Yeah,
Could have been your first. And yeah, so Sienna's in the comments. She's like, that could have been your first. I'm like, I know. So anyway, this interview is not about me, but thank you. I will follow up. Okay, so we have to go through the list, Missy, because you have quite the bio. So fill me in if I
yes.
get wrong.
Huh?
Ophthalmologist,
Hmm.
medical consultant, college educator,
For a very short time, but yeah,
um, author, and kidney transplant recipient.
yeah,
Did I
yeah.
miss anything in that list?
I think they got everything, wife and mother, but other than that,
And then we get to the basics, right? Like, yeah, I'm a wife, a mother, yeah.
yeah,
Um, but that is quite impressive. So I want to kind of unpack all of that in segments, if you don't mind.
that's fine.
But I would really like to get into your book. So let's start with your author life first.
Okay.
So
Um,
tell us, it's romance and romantic suspense. So how did you decide on that genre?
it actually ended up kind of being backwards. I started out with romantic suspense, and I'm a big mystery reader. That's actually how I started when I was 8.
Oh,
Um,
sweet.
yeah, well,
Like Nancy Drew?
yes. See, my cousins and I read a lot of Nancy Drew, Trixie Bell, and the Bobbsey twins, then branched off to Agatha Christie and Sir Conan Doyle. And so I was just all into the mystery when I was younger. And my cousins and I wanted to write our own mystery with, with little black kids because we just didn't have that many out there.
Right.
But we were not very good at plotting. We were good at planning. So we actually created a story Bible. We didn't know what it was, but each person, we wrote down all their traits, who they liked, who they didn't like, where they lived, who they had a crush on. Like I said, that's about all we got correct. So we did that. My another cousin was an artist, so she drew pictures of each one of them. And then we decided to write stories and basically ended up writing one chapter for almost everything. Almost every book only had one chapter because we had no idea how to move forward, how to plot, how to create any clues, nothing. So we had a whole lot of one chapter books. And you know what dot matrix paper is. My parents were computer workers. We had lots of dot matrix paper. So we would fold it up and staple it and make it look like we were creating books because we didn't know anything else. So we were just like, we've written a lot of books or have written or what have you.
Okay,
And
DW. I would like to say I don't know what you're talking about, dot matrix, but unfortunately, I am old enough where I know exactly what you're talking about. You have
yeah,
yeah,
I
that is
hate that I know what it is too.
girl. Do you have any of those still, those books? Yeah, I know Life and We Move and College and
Yeah,
all.
yeah. I went to my mother and asked her, I mean, we were kids, so they all ended up in my attic because I think we figured that was the most stable attic to end up in.
Yeah.
But I went in and I looked, I couldn't find them. And I asked my mother, and she looked at me like, I didn't throw those away. And then she had the nerve to tell me that maybe the squirrels got them. So I'm pretty sure she threw them out at some point. And it probably just seemed like, oh, just a bunch of paper at that
Yeah.
point.
Kids' school papers or school assignments. You're like, oh gosh, I'll need all that. Yeah.
Yeah, in our attic, going to cause a fire. So we got rid of all of it. So so we were 8. I kind of moved the writing back and decided I was going to medical school. So I spent, junior high and high school and college trying to achieve that goal. And even when I got to medical school, they were taking bets as to what the likelihood would be that I would retire from practicing medicine. They just didn't think I would. They thought, because I was in, oh, I might be telling my age, there was a lot of going on in the background about universal health care through the president. I'm not going to name which one because I don't want to specifically say exactly how old I am. But, 92. I was in medical school. So they
Well,
were,
you
yeah,
said dot matrix, so I mean, we kind of.
same place, kind of gave it away.
Oh no! Don't you hate that when you're a point of reference? So you're like,
Yeah,
oh, do you remember like I don't know, MASH or like the Cosby Show, and everybody's like, no, that was before I was born. You're like,
I know. It's like, ooh, I was, and I wasn't a little kid. I mean, Cosby Show, I wasn't small. So,
yeah, I was not, like in middle school. No.
yeah. Ooh. But yeah, so I, they didn't think I was going to, they thought I would graduate, probably finish my residency, and then I would find something else to do. I guess I should have taken bets on that because that's pretty close to what actually happened.
Really? But that to me is the hard part. Medical school, residency. To
Yeah.
me, you've been through the fire. Now you're like, been through it. And then I would hope this is like the easy part,
Yeah.
as really
Well,
as a doctor can be.
yeah, there were several different things going on at that point. One was I'm an ophthalmologist by training, but I am not a surgeon at heart. I could do the procedure, but I was always very, very nervous before any procedure. And I kept thinking, there's no way that I could actually do 30 years of this.
Mhm. Yeah.
I probably would freak out. And also, I got my MBA right after I finished my residency. So,
Girl,
uh,
wow. Okay.
too much school, too much school.
No, I would say you're very driven. No one goes all the way through medical school, residency, becoming a doctor, and they're like, you know what? Let me get my MBA too.
Well, I
Funny.
wanted my lab partner, my first year in gross anatomy in med school, actually transferred out of, I went to Vanderbilt. We transferred out of Vanderbilt because they wouldn't let him take 2 years to get his MBA in between. He had a full scholarship and with extra money and everything. And they would not let him get his MBA while he was in med school. So he left and went to Penn because they would.
That's crazy. Okay,
Yeah.
and you went to Vanderbilt. I mean, that is an incredibly hard school to get into, very prestigious.
Yeah. That was my,
DW, I mean, yeah, DW.
yeah. So I knew I wanted to get my MBA at some point. So I got it. When I finished my residency, I was working at the University of Alabama in Birmingham and getting my MBA at the same time. And I remember the chairman coming up to me right after I graduated and said, it's time for your contract it's time for us to up your contract, but I'm pretty sure you're not coming back. And I was like, nope. I had no idea where I was going. I had no clue. But I knew that I didn't want to practice anymore. And I ended up working at WebMD. So when it first launched. So it was
Hey, can
fun.
we pause right there? I know we said we'd talk about the book, but that is powerful because you said you put away the writing or put it aside to focus on medicine. You knew that way back in junior high, high
Hmm.
school, college, medical school residency. I mean, that is a lot of years. And then you get your MBA and you decide to walk away. You know how brave that is? There's so many people that will not make a radical decision like that because it's so scary. It's literally
Yeah.
jumping without a parachute.
Yeah. And I was scared. And that's actually where I got my first character from, because my original plan for Jameson, the character in my Chaos series, was that because she's a doctor. All of my women characters are doctors.
Love it.
Um, so she decided not to, my goal was to have her, finish her residency and then quit. And the original story was going to be her trying to explain, her trying to move forward, live her life, and explain that to her family, because that was a hard discussion. Only with my father was it not really a discussion, because my father always told me, "I'll support you, whatever you guys do. It's cool." I mean, he was proud that I went to medical school, et cetera, and so on. But he was like, "If you feel that there's something else you need to be doing, do it. I'm here for you." Everybody else is kind of like, why? I don't
Exactly.
understand.
You've already done
So
the hard part.
yeah, they're like, "I don't get it. You kind of got to the top. I don't understand what happened." So it was a hard talk, but ending up at WebMD kind of edged some of that out, because I was there when it was really fun, when the internet bubble was just wild, and we were kind of creating a website, creating a whole culture. I always tell doctor friends, if somebody comes in with a pile of papers and they're like, "This is what I saw on the internet," part of that's my fault.
Yeah, we all do it. Okay, now
Yeah,
we used to
yeah,
go to Google and well, we used to go to WebMD, then Google. Now we all go to Chat GPT and we're like, let me put in all my labs, my symptoms, and then yeah, let it diagnose me.
yeah. So I mean, I had a good time there. When the bubble burst, that kind of went away, and then I started doing some medical consulting and doing continuing medical education for doctors, nurses, and pharmacists, and on and on. And then I had the character in the back of my head, but I didn't. At that moment, I didn't feel like I really had a enough story to sit down and write it. And then I developed kidney failure. It's a genetic kidney problem. I knew at some point it was going to happen. Uh, and when it did, as my kidney function got worse, I was, pretty close to I was disabled, because I really couldn't do much. I kind of planned to do one thing every day, because I would spend a lot of time in bed. And I thought, well,
Oh, wow.
if I'm going to be sitting in my bed, I might as well be writing. And that's what got it all started. I started writing. And I think my husband thought I was just going to write the one book and be done. Now I sound like, okay, I see this is what you're going to do. Cool. All right.
Okay, can we pause right there? You're facing kidney troubles, right? What you originally think is just like, okay, this is maybe kidney troubles, but then it leads into something way more serious.
Well, I knew my mother, I mean, our family on my mother's side, there are the genetic kidney problem. I mean, I've known about it since she had a kidney transplant, and I mean, I've kind of had that hanging over my head like a sword for most of my life. Uh, and 'cause my mother had a kidney transplant back in, wow, early 90s maybe. So
Oh.
yeah, and they actually did a study on my family, because the type of um, genetic condition we have isn't all that common in African Americans. It's more common in other races. So they actually did a study. I didn't participate because I was actually working at UAB, and I really didn't want I didn't want to get in the middle of all that while I was at work. And so, but they did a study on our family, just kind of seeing how many people. It's a lot. So
You as a doctor, you understand it, I think, better than most laymen, obviously. And so you know what's happening within the family and why. So then do you get tested? Because you said it's on your mom's side, but then you have your dad. So is it like a 50-50 chance you would have it or not, or is it pretty much guaranteed?
Well, it generally is a 50. Well, I knew I had it when I was an intern. And I'll tell you the story. It's weird. Now I look back and go, I can't believe I did that. I had a patient who's having blood clots, and I needed to get a procedure done on a Saturday with a radiologist.
Okay.
And the radiologist was like, I don't know if I want to do that. It's Saturday. I want to go home, blah, blah, blah. So we struck a deal, and I volunteered to let him ultrasound my neck, my heart, and my kidneys. I was like, all right. Because he's like, I'd like to see normal ones. And I was like, yeah, okay, fine. I don't care. I need this done. Now I look back and go, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But, so, he ultrasounded my carotid, he ultrasounded my heart and said, your heart looks fine, your carotids are clear. And he hit my kidneys and said, ooh, you have cysts. And I said, okay, I didn't dodge the sword. All right, fine. So, at that point, I just said, I'm just going to do what I'm just going to live until it comes up. And, my husband, when I cut kidney stone, my husband is very, very aggressive and the marketing kind of guy. And when the doctor said it could take 7 years for you to get a transplant, because, it depends on your blood type. I happen to have the most common blood type. So they said it could be up to 7 years. And he was just like, no, 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 no. So we created a Facebook group, and I actually found my kidney donor through Facebook. So,
You're kidding through social media.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, never underestimate the power of social media.
Yeah. It doesn't work as well now, I don't think, but this was kind of a newer thing when I did it, and a whole bunch of people came and wanted to try to donate. Some of them didn't actually understand. I created a blog that kind of went through all the steps and people who could try to donate. But some people just had such big hearts, they'd be like, well, I have diabetes and heart disease, but I'd love to donate. And it's like, you can't. You need to take care of yourself.
You and your health, yeah. Before you start donating organs.
Yeah, you need to take care of yourself first.
Exactly.
But yeah.
That's powerful because here you're facing something very serious, quite critical, and then you turn it into a positive with this downtime. You're like, well, I know I'm going to be in bed for a while. I'm going to just look. Who does that, DW? Who does that? It's like, most of us in bed wallow and we feel sorry for ourselves.
Well, I kept thinking, I won't deny that some of it may have been a little fatalistic, like, okay, well, at least I'll have a book left behind if something doesn't work out the way it's supposed to. But most of it was just, I want to do something. I can't just sit here, and I don't want to just look at the computer or look at TV, because that doesn't get me there. And I usually had the TV on in the background anyway, but it was, it was fun. It was good. And my dad ended up moving in 6 months after my transplant. I was essentially done with the book, but imposter syndrome popped up, and I was just like, okay, I'm not going to do anything else with this. I wrote the book, I finished it. Okay. And then I finally decided, all right, I might as well put it out there and see what happens. So I published it in 2023.
So your dad, who always told you to follow your dreams, regardless of how much the education, your time, energy, everything spent with that, then he moves in to help you?
Well, no, we were helping him, but because he was having health problems. But, and the only thing I really regret about that is that he, at that point, really wasn't reading a whole lot. Mm-hmm. So he never actually read what I wrote. He knew about it, and he was like, well, what are you going to do with it? But he wasn't going to ever sit down and read it. And, I had to have, my editor kind of had to, slap my hand a little bit, because it's my longest book. So I was just writing, and part of it we pulled out to create the prequel, because she was like, write another book with that. That's really long. So,
Okay, so we're talking that it is 6 months, you being down, recovering from your transplant. Is that correct?
hmm
And writing this in bed.
well, I've been writing it. I started writing before my dad moved in, before the transplant. Yeah, but I spent a lot of time in bed, and then I ended up starting dialysis. I was still still working on it. So I ended up finishing it right before I had the transplant, I think, somewhere around in there. I didn't
So,
know how that was going to go.
oh yeah, I can imagine. I mean, you said fatalistic, and I mean that's a good motivator. I mean, hopefully you don't have that as a motivation ever again.
Yeah, I'm hoping not. So far, we're 8 years plus in, so we're happy with that.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, what made you decide then? You said you kind of wrote it for yourself privately. You
hmm
finished it before you have the transplant. The transplant, I'm sure, is an incredibly long downtime.
Yeah.
Taking care of you. What made you decide then to publish it for the world to see and read and judge, review,
Yeah.
rate?
Um, my dad passed away in that process, and I, I guess I was just thinking, all right, I've written this book. All right, I think after my dad passed away, I was like, all right, I am not going back into the practice of medicine because I've been out for a really long time at this point, and it was COVID was here. I was like, well, I can't really hang around. Now I'm immunosuppressed. I can't really hang around a bunch of people right now because I'm still fairly new at this.
It was very
And
scary times.
yeah, that was scary for me because every time I heard about a person with a kidney transplant catching COVID, it usually caused problems with the kidney. So I was in the house. I was
Well,
kind of afraid.
I remember the statistic was 1 in 5 was passing away.
Yeah,
And so it was the elderly, the young, and the immunocompromised. And so it was scary.
yeah, yeah. I mean, as soon as they started talking about vaccines, and our whole family, my son, of course, a boy, he's like, I don't need a vaccine. The only reason I'm getting it is because of you, because I want to make sure you're okay. I said, well, I appreciate that.
Well,
But
those young sons, they know more than us. You know that, right?
yeah, and he's 23 now and he still knows more than us.
Well, forget that you're a doctor and you went to medical school and have an
Well,
MBA. He still knows more. Okay.
well, yeah, he's in law school, so he of course knows more now.
Of course.
But yeah, so um, that was kind of my driver. It's like, well, what else am I going to do? I mean, I'm in the house. I'm wearing masks everywhere. If we go anywhere, what? I mean, I might as well see what I can do with this. So I decided to go ahead and try. My husband has actually written a book as well. So
Oh.
we're a weird family over here.
What I'm hearing is he needs to be on here next.
Well, he's written two books. One of them was his autobiography because he's adopted, and so when he met his birth, he wrote a book about finding his birth family. Um, and then he wrote a success workbook, and he's busy doing other stuff now. I keep saying you need to get your autobiography back up there because when he was doing it, Amazon worked differently. KDP wasn't there, so you still had to write your book somewhere else and
Yeah.
then sell it there.
Yeah.
And I keep saying you need to put it on now and see what happens. He said, I will when I have time. So,
Yeah. Well, when he is up and live, open invitation to him.
all right. Thank you very much.
But
So,
what did you decide? You said your father had passed away.
mhm.
You were recovering. What made you decide to, put it out there?
I said I couldn't figure out what else I was going to do. And I did take a class of how to self-publish and how to market yourself and things like that. And I said, all right, I spent money on this class. I would put it out there, see what happens. And I had really no internet presence or anything like that in the writing world. So it was really hit or miss, and there was a lot of miss with that. I signed up for book tours. So I had a couple of book tours and very few followers. And I mean, it was fun. I got it published, uh, got a few good reviews, and it was just kind of exciting. And I knew at that point that I wanted to do the next book in the series. I kind of wanted to make it into a series because there was more story that I had to tell about my doctor who had quit practicing. I had created a whole nother reason for her to have stopped practicing, and it ended up that she practiced a little bit, but she was practicing in Africa. It's a whole thing. So, and then it just, I always had lots of stories in my head, and so I have a whole bunch of works in progress going on right now, and so and then I got sidetracked because I started book 4 in that series, and I was talking to some of my friends and my author friends. All of them, or most of them, write contemporary romance, or some form of romance, and most of them write in first person. I wrote Homecoming Chaos and that entire series in third person, and I kept thinking, well, I feel like I could write a story in first person. Let me see if I just wanted to see if I could do it.
Yeah, test your.
And yeah, and that's where Late Match came from. I tested it and I said, okay, I actually finished it. That wasn't so bad. And I really liked the characters, and especially the ex-wife in Late Match. I felt like she had more story to tell. So that's where the Match Game comes in. So it's going to be a series about the friends and family in that group. We got a couple more coming.
Okay, so let's start with your first book.
First published or first in the series?
First published. So
Okay.
we go down the order of when you release those. So
Okay, that's Homecoming Chaos.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
No, I just said that's Homecoming Chaos. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No worries. Okay, so is that the one that you wrote while your dad through all that? Okay. Walk us through, and no spoilers unless you want to, but what is that one about? What's the premise?
It is about a young woman. I guess she's young compared to me now, but she's in her 30s. She has a contentious relationship with her mother. She was a teen model when she was younger. She's now a dermatologist. And some things that happened while she was modeling in New York as a teenager have impacted her relationship with her mother and her family. And she had left town. That's all in the prequel. And she was deciding to come back to town after 4 years away, working in Africa, like Doctors Without Borders, to try to fix the relationship with her family. First night back, there's a murder at her parents' business, and she is concerned about how that's going to impact the business, but she also meets the detective who's working on the case, and of course he's handsome and kind of snarky, and they battle, and then they flirt, and on and on. So they of course get the case solved, and then they decide they're going to go out on a date. So that's that book. Not really any super spoilers.
And then what came next?
I ended up publishing the prequel after that first, before I published the actual sequel. So the prequel gives you some background on her. And in the prequel, she was engaged to a wealthy surgeon, coming from a wealthy, established family. Her family's, wealthy and established at this point as well. But her family was really excited about her marrying him, merging of two perfect families, and so on. But she
Two
really,
dogs in the family.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but she really didn't want to marry him, and it was just some of the things that happened in New York influenced how she went about the relationship, and it wasn't she wasn't completely honest with him because she didn't want him to think badly of her from some of the things that happened when she was in New York. So she had to make some decisions about whether she was just going to go along to get along or whether she was going to stand up for what he wanted to do. Sound familiar?
A little bit, a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So maybe I was getting out some stuff while I was writing as well.
Well, I mean, don't you think, in a way, though, a lot of us or our world comes out in our writing, like people we're friends with, people who influence us.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So that was that story, and ironically, that's my only book that actually won an award.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
you've heard of the Indieverse Award?
Yes.
Yeah,
Congrats.
I it won a, uh, a BIPOC the World We Want to See or what have you award. So
That's exciting because,
yeah,
you were a little hesitant. I mean, well, let's be honest, you wrote the story originally for you, then you
hmm
just publish it, and then you win an award for all that?
yeah, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it gives you a little bit of encouragement to keep writing through. Although we all know that every book you write is not for everybody. That's kind of my. I think I'm looking relatively calm now 'cause my arts went out today, and so I am nervous.
Well, but think about us, when people say that story, I have reviews that people don't like the story, but I'm a reader too. And
hmm
you can have like your auto buy authors, like whatever they publish, I'm going to buy it. And sometimes stories just don't resonate. You don't know why,
Yeah,
though, like it has nothing to do with the author. You're like, that story didn't hit for me. So I
yeah,
always think like, don't get upset because you're going to write, if you have a whole body of work, not every story is going to be a, home run, I guess.
yeah. I mean, I think I'm nervous about all of them, just in different ways. I
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like both of these stories a lot in the contemporary romance, and so I'm hoping that this one makes sense to
Okay.
everybody. I mean, yeah, I think it's a pretty good story, but we'll find
So
out.
when you say this story, you said the first story already came out, then you wrote the prequel. Is this now the sequel or like the second book? Really, I guess
Oh,
it's
this is a different series. When I decided to write the contemporary romance in first
yeah.
person, my original plan was just to write the one book, just to say, all right, I could actually write this in one person, in first person. Okay.
Okay.
But like I said, just a quick background on Late Match. It's about,
Yeah, well,
um,
but
yeah, we're skipping around, but it's about two doctors who got engaged in medical school, and but they didn't match to the same residency program. They weren't in the same. They didn't match the same state, and their relationship didn't survive the distance.
mhm.
So they broke up, didn't speak to each other for 15 years. Both of them had gotten married and divorced in the process. And 15 years later, they run into each other at a swim camp for their sons.
Ooh.
And it's not as random as it seems. The male main character had been an almost Olympian. And they actually bonded over water, because they both fell in the pool at the registration for med school.
Okay.
So they had swimming in common. So it just happens that as they move through their lives, they actually both of them put their kids in swimming classes, obviously. So their kids ended up at the same place because he had attended that place and she knew that. So she thought that would be a good place to send her kids. She didn't know he hadn't talked to him. She didn't know,
Oh,
but she did know that that was a good place, a good academy because he had gone there. It just happens that their kids were around the same age and they both were there at the same time. And the kids ran into each other and forced the parents to have to interact again. So, and it was fun to write. You know, my first real experience of writing Spice. And so,
How did that go?
My editor had to clean up some of it.
Oh,
She was like, okay, this probably don't need to say that. You probably don't need to do this. Obviously, you read it.
I see Kitty.
Yeah. So, yeah. And yeah. So it was, I mean, it was fun. And once I kind of got the hang of it, because some of it was like, really? Am I really going to say that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, but it was fun. And
Well, okay, DB, I like to use the excuse is like my character said that. I didn't. I would never do that, but my
I'm going to have to use that one because some of the stuff I was like, yeah, okay.
when you write spicy, you're like, oh my God, where did that come from? Like, clutching your pearls. Oh,
Yeah, like, oh gosh, I can't believe they're doing that there. What location are they doing that? People are like, is this something that you're not telling us personally? It's like,
are you into that? I know.
yeah. Or we're so interesting location for that to happen. That's something you're writing from experience.
Yes.
I'll never tell.
And people, it's funny because like your circle of influence asks that, but when the readers are like, no, if you're a good author and writer, you can write spicy scenes about anything without actually having experience. It's called research, right?
Yeah.
And so
And some of it's like some of it's stand-up research because you're like, okay, can you actually physically do that? Okay. How does that work?
Okay, I'll tell you like a little secret. On one of mine, I had to watch movies to figure out the logistics of what you can do on a motorcycle. So, and so to answer that question, yes, there is motorcycle movies.
Well, oddly enough, I'm not surprised because it seems like there's movies about everywhere. So.
There is basically everything you can find. But yeah, that's research. Sorry, I digress.
No, it's okay. I had to do some. I didn't do any movie research. I did some imaginary research in small spaces. I didn't get on a bus to see how that worked, but in a small bathroom.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying everybody needs to watch those kind of movies to do the research.
Yeah. No, we've all seen something, right?
Well, because I have one of my editors and a very dear close alpha reader. They're like, oh my God, you got this right. How did you know? And I was like, oh, okay, because they do ride motorcycles and they are married. And so they're like, yeah, that's, like you could do it that way. And I'm like, okay, well, there you go. A little validating.
I can actually imagine what was going on the motorcycle. I can imagine.
It's so funny. Yeah, if the hubbies knew what their wives were talking about, they were like,
yeah. See, my husband hasn't read that book. He's read some of the other ones. He hasn't read that one. And I kind of think, well, yeah. I mean, he can read it, but
we will wait on one. So did you say the ARC is out for that book?
No, ARC is out for the Match Game, book 2.
Okay.
So Late Match is book 1, and so it's about the 2 doctors. And remember I said both doctors had been married before. So the main male character in Late Match, his ex-wife is the main female character in the Match Game. And some of it I actually laid the groundwork for. I mean, I wasn't doing it on purpose because I still thought that it was going to be a one-off. But then when I got closer to the end, I thought, well, she actually has some good story there for her because of how their relationship went down. Because, both the 2 doctors who were engaged were still in love with each other. They just were, decided that they weren't going to talk to each other because obviously, she left him and he was trying to get on with his life, but he was still thinking about her and stuff. So, but he married someone else, and it ended up not being a really healthy relationship for her, obviously, because she wasn't like in love with her.
Right.
And so I wanted to push that into this story with her trying to figure out how to move on from that relationship and finding her own happily ever after with somebody who actually did love her.
Oh, I
And
love that
yeah,
though, because we don't always think about the spouses that are left behind.
yeah.
So I do love that you did that. Now let me ask you this though. ARCs went out. Are you still looking for ARCs? So you can tell people here if they're interested, or are ARCs closed already?
Arcs are closed because the book launches in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So
Congratulations. That's very exciting though.
yeah. So yeah, the arcs were open for almost 2 months. And at this point, I mean, I don't know how many people have downloaded, but it was almost 300 people signed up. I had
Great.
I had two PR. I used two firms to help me gather up people, and it's almost 300 signed up. And we don't know how many are actually going to download. There's an attrition rate as you
There,
go through the steps.
people
Yeah.
will, and then people. Some have very good intentions. They download
Hmm.
it. They're going to do the review, and then life or whatever happens.
Yeah.
Some people say, "Oh, well, they just want free books." And I'm like, I try to think the best in everybody. I feel like everybody, when they signed up, I hope they had the best intentions of helping out us indie authors, but
Yeah.
I don't like to think about it any other way. Maybe that's
Yeah.
nice.
No. Yeah. So we'll find out over the next couple of weeks how many people actually download and read. But yeah, so unfortunately, it's closed right now. So I got more coming down. So we'll get back in that trenches. If I survive this arc period, I have to decide if I'm gonna do arcs again. It's every time I do this, I keep thinking I'm not gonna do arcs again. This is just too nerve wracking, and then I do them again. So
Well, I think the one thing you mentioned earlier is we have imposter syndrome. And I think it moves in shifts, right? At some point, you're like, can I write a book? I don't
mhm,
know. So we do, right? And then you write the book, and you're like, okay, well, maybe I can. And you said you had done third person, and you switched to first person, which was another challenge, right? Can I
mhm,
do that? Yes, I can. Question asked, question answered. But then I think imposter syndrome shifts a little bit because you're like, did I write a good story? Will
yeah,
my readers like it? Will it resonate with them? Can I do it again?
yeah,
If they love this story so much, now you have a little bit more added pressure. Will then the next book be as good? Will they love it as much?
yeah. There is some of that. I mean, I wasn't. It wasn't Bait Match wasn't a huge seller, but there were. I mean, there are people who signed up for this one because they liked that one so much. So it's like, okay. I told one of my friends that. I said, it's expectations now because before you didn't really have any expectations.
Yeah.
You're writing, if nobody liked it, well, it's new. I'm doing this for myself. But then you have a few people who are fans, like, oh, I really like what you write. And you're like, oh man, now they expect me to write something good.
And we
So,
get in our head about that,
yeah,
because you do have not only like you said, it's one thing when you write for you because you're like, well, I'll just if it doesn't work out, I only disappoint myself. But
yeah.
now you have the pressure of other people, and you're just like, oh no.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, oh no, I mean, even folks who hadn't read the other book, but they're looking at my social media posts or, my reels talking about what the book's about or what the tropes are. And then it's like, that looks really cute. That looks really cute. I can't wait to read it. And you're like, ooh, okay. I mean, I'm glad you can't wait to read it, but then you're just thinking, oh man. So maybe you're reading a page going, why was I? So you just, okay, let's need to take some deep breaths and try not to think about it.
But, and that is all very, very true. So, not to discount your feelings, but sometimes something beautiful happens, and the
Yeah.
artists come in and they love it and they're supportive. And, it doesn't matter about stars. I don't want it to be about ratings, but sometimes they make comments or they'll DM you or, and that's the beautiful side of ARCs is you kind of get a preview to how your book lands.
Yeah.
And it's encouraging.
Yeah, and I've told myself I'm not going to sit and wait on that right now. 'Cause, because what I found is that a lot of my quote unquote target audience is not necessarily big social media users.
Right.
So I don't know. I've never really gotten a whole lot of random DMs of people going, "Oh my God, this is great." I've had people come up to me and say that because, yeah, I have some friends who have purchased the book. My daughter goes to a playhouse. Well, it's a Down Syndrome Achievement Center, and so a lot of the moms there have bought my books, and so some of them are just like, "I loved it. I'm going to keep buying everything you get." So I
Oh,
get that, but
that's
I
all.
really, yeah, but I really haven't gotten a whole lot of DMs of people. I've gotten a few, but it doesn't seem like that where a lot of my previous readers were. It does feel like with the slightly larger number of arcs that, if it lands, then there may actually be more of that just because it's I think it's a slightly younger um, group of people actually reading it. So
Mhm. Well, what I hear is that your DMs are open and you would love to hear from people.
yes, I would. Yes, I would.
So where are you at now? Are you writing the next book in that series? You writing something new?
Um, I I actually ended book three of the chaos, the IB chaos, homecoming chaos, and dating chaos, which is about the detective and the doctor's first date and some other drama going on. I actually wrote about 70,000 words of book four, and then I decided I didn't really like how it was going. So I still have the words. I never throw away words.
Okay, that's a lot of words.
Yeah, it is. So
Yeah.
I'm going back and trying to reshape. I had a huge epiphany about one of the things that I didn't like about it. So I'm actually having to go back and rewrite parts of it. And I think that might help with the other words that I had written and make those flow a little bit better. It just seemed like there was not enough going on. And I was beginning to kind of hate the story. Now it's like, oh, I can, I see where I went wrong. All right. And I also have a about a two-thirds done novella about the doctor in the chaos universe's younger brother that I wanted to just release as a one-off about him because he has problems with dating. So he has dating issues. So I wanted to write kind of a little bit creepier story about him having a stalker.
So let me ask you this. You have kind of two series active at the
Hmm.
same time. And a lot of authors do it that way. There's a lot of authors that say, oh no, I can only stay in one universe at a time.
Right.
So tell us how you made the decision to have two going when you write. How do you keep those worlds separate but clear to write them?
Well, one, one's in third person, one's in first person. That does help. 'Cause
That's
I
hard,
try,
harder.
yeah, it helps keep them separated. But also, I've made kind of a line down the middle. The Chaos Universe, every story is going to have some element of suspense slash mystery.
Okay.
So that kind of, when I'm writing in that mindset, that makes it easy to keep it separated. And also, the contemporary romance one is a lot more emotional and it's also open door. The other one is not open door.
Oh,
I always call it crack door. Like you know things are going on, but you're not getting full details. But the contemporary romance is open door. So you kind of figure out which mindset you're in, and that's where you're right.
Well, that's impressive, DW, because okay, so you're saying you set up all these different ways that they're radically different. Romantic suspense versus romance, third versus first,
Mhm.
open versus, crack door. And so I understand what you're saying. That puts you in the different frame of mind to write. But
Yeah,
that's incredibly hard as a writer to do.
yeah.
Does it come
Well,
naturally to you? Is that just how your brain works?
yeah. Yeah, I look back and say I should have been doing this when I was 16 because I was a whole lot smarter when I was 16. a
Oh, girl,
lot,
we should be
but
doing a lot of things when we were young, but
yeah, but yeah, I've kind of, I mean, I have worked on both of them at the same time,
okay.
but I wanted to I kind of ended up pushing the chaos book 4 aside to get this one done. So I have to get the other one done, especially since Dating Chaos ended in a cliffhanger and it's been over a year. and,
Oh
and it's like,
no.
some of these people are probably like, I don't even remember this book, this series at all.
On the hook now. Remember we talked about earlier how there's expectations. You're like, I'm gonna up the ante.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have expectations, and I'm gonna leave them on a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, I left them on the cliffhanger. And so I gotta do it. So it's coming out at the end of the year, one way or the other.
Nice.
I'm gonna pry it out. I'm gonna pry it out of this brain one way or the other. So, but I also plan to have the third book in the contemporary romance series out at the end of the year as well.
Well, then, roughly, how many words do your books end up being, and how long does it take you to write them?
Um, let's see. I will put Homecoming Chaos out because I was under no deadlines or anything, and that book's 400 and some odd pages.
Oh,
Yeah,
she's a big chunker. She's a
she
chunker.
she's. I can show
Oh,
you. I
you
brought.
yeah, do you have your book right there?
Yeah, she's
Oh, yeah,
big.
man, that's a beautiful cover. Yeah.
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you. She's big. And
She's
the
okay.
other two books in the series are novellas. Those,
Okay.
that wasn't that difficult.
Yeah.
Late Match, when I wrote it, it was about 80,000 words. It ended up coming out after editing and things like that. It ended up being around 70.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
this one, the Match Game, in the writing, it ended up being about 115.
Oh, wow.
It actually, after the editing and getting rid of redundant scenes and things like that, it ended up being around 85 to 87,000.
Wow, you cut a lot.
Yeah, some of it's going to get dragged into the next book and reworked a little bit because
Because there's a lot to
yeah,
lose.
yeah, because there's actually a novella that I want to write in that series because of that it goes along with the Match Game. They go on a vacation at some point, and I actually want to write the vacation as a novella. Um, yeah, well, yeah. There's my editor is good at seeing what doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sounds like it. Sounds like you have a very good team around you.
Yeah, yeah. She was funny because she kept saying she sent it back, because we always do a developmental edit. So when she sent it back to me, I said, "You realize that I'm probably about to add another 20,000." I think when I sent it to her, it was 100. I said, "I'm probably going to add close to another 20,000." She was like, "Oh, okay." And and then she was like, I went back through it, and maybe these need to be combined, and that thing may not be as important. I was like, yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. She was like, this is a big book, and most contemporary romances don't need to be quite that big.
Yeah.
So
Well, and they're true, right? But I think, I've talked to readers about this because I have some longer series and I have some shorter. And I asked, and what I find with my readership is they just don't care. They read it all anyway. Romance readers are voracious, right?
mhm,
There are some of these romance readers that when they do that end of year wrap up, they're reading 100, 200, 300 books. So
yeah,
as long as the story is good, they don't care if it's 70,000 words or 125,000 is what I have always gotten feedback. So I kind of take comfort in that,
Mm-hmm.
that the story will be what the story will be.
Right.
And your readers will hang in there the whole time. And sometimes I think like the books are long and they're like, oh my gosh, they've flown by. And I'm like, really? You know?
Yeah. So, so it's not my biggest book, but it definitely, it's going to be a little chunkier than the other, but that's okay. That's all
I
right.
think it's okay. I'm not one to write to standard. And I think, well, I'm not traditionally published, so I don't have to. You don't have
That's
to
true.
either, right?
That's true.
The
That
story
is
is
true.
done. The story is done.
That's kind of that's one of the fun things. Sometimes when you're looking on social media, you see other people getting deals and stuff, and you think, that would
Yeah.
be cool. And then you think, would that be cool for me? I don't know. Especially for me, because um, as a person who came to this later,
Yeah.
I don't have the same runway in front of me. I'm not going to be writing books for the next 50 years. Just
Yeah.
no.
I mean, true. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't even know if a trad deal would even be a good idea for me, because you can't just write your book and publish it. It takes time. And I'd rather get books out as opposed to getting one book out every few years. I'd rather kind of work at my own pace
Oh,
and
you
get as many as I can
heck.
out.
I interviewed an author this year on this show, and she said, what are we in 2026? She said she has 10 to 11 books ready to be published, ready to go out. She has a publishing schedule booked until 2030. So
Oh
those
my.
10 to 11 books
Mhm.
done, finished, covers ready to go, but they're in the lineup.
Yeah.
She's like,
I
what do
would,
I? She just keeps writing. Where me and you would release them and go on, she's like,
yeah.
I can't. So she just keeps writing books. And I was like, wow.
I'm not sure I would. I mean,
I'm not
yeah, I
that.
don't know if I could sit on them. I don't think I could sit on them.
I
They would
know.
be coming out every, 6 months, if not sooner than that. As soon as I got them ready to go, they would start rolling out. I mean, I would like to actually be one of those people that has the book written months in advance,
Oh,
but that seems not to be where I am. I mean, my arts went out today. My last bit of note and edit happened 2 days ago before the arts went out. So it's never, I mean, I just don't have that much. I don't have that much pre-run. I would like to actually do that, but we'll work on it. We'll see.
yeah. Well, I have two last questions for you before we wrap up. One, where can people find you, and where are your books sold?
Okay, when you say find me, like social media find me or in person find me?
Oh, either one. Online, in person, if you're doing book conferences, yes.
Yeah, this weekend I'll be in San Antonio at the San Antonio African American Book Festival. Um, I have another one going in April in Dallas at it's a book summit, and then one in June called Lit World. It's here in Houston.
Oh,
Yeah, and I'll be at Book Harvest in October in Chicago. I also have one in New York in July. I almost forgot about that. I haven't been as active in prepping for that one as I should have. And then I'm doing the Tropicon in November in Katy.
oh,
So
what was in Katy, you said?
it's called Tropicon. They have them in, like, I think there's going to be one in Pensacola and one in some other city, but they're doing it in Katy at Katy Mills. So
Oh, great.
yeah, nice not to have to go that far. I'm also going to start doing some markets um, this year, some local markets. I didn't realize there were that many, kind
Huh.
of everywhere. So I'm going to do a few of those and get into some bookstores and stuff. I said this year I was going to go kind of hard trying to get my face and name out there a bit more.
Good. Well, I hope that happens. Where can
Yeah.
people find you online, and where can they buy your books?
Okay, I am. mostly on Instagram and Threads now. And my handle is the same at authordwbrooks.com. I mean, not .com. That's my website. authordwbrooks.com is my website, but my handle is at authordwbrooks. And you can buy my book on Amazon. Pay you. You can also buy them on my website at authordwbrooks.com. And they are in some bookstores. You probably would have to look at my website to see which ones, but I have them in probably 10 indie bookstores right now.
Awesome.
So, yeah, so we're working on it.
Good. Okay, so my final question. If you could wave a wand and anything would be true, where would you be in 1 year?
Physically or writing? So you asked me before, like, writing wise, I would like to be in a place where imposter syndrome was not an issue and that I had a fairly regular publishing schedule. I don't really think about being super famous per se. I mean, I guess I would like to have one little orange banner on Amazon at some point.
Yeah.
But I still think I write a lot for myself. Don't tell my husband. Because he wants me to, you know, be famous.
Oh,
Yeah, he wants me to be famous. But, you know, I just want to write, get more books out, have a bigger backlist, maybe get one lovely orange banner, and have people who actually enjoy my books, and I'm an autobiographer for a few days.
Well, from your lips to the universe's ears, I hope that happens for you.
Thank you.
And I wish you the best of luck on your release in 2 weeks. So, and when you have the next book written, I would love to have you back and we can chat about that.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Yes, it's been a lovely time. Yeah, it's been a lovely time getting to know you. And you know, we are in the same city, so we should probably do a face-to-face and you know, we could hang out and chat author stuff.
Let me know. I am, like I said, I got to get out of this house. I got to get out of the house. I mean, the COVID fear still kind of, I've gotten used to not being out as much. I'm trying to fix that now. I'm trying to get out and about a little bit more. So now we can grab coffee and chat. Yeah.
We can get a big table and you sit on your end and I'll sit on my end.
We'll have our computers in front of us as well, so we can write and then we can talk, and then we can write and we can talk.
I see this.
I'm up for it.
Yeah, co-working. I can do that. Let's go.
All right. I'm here.
Okay, great.
We can chat later.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All the best on your new release.
Thank you. You have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
You too. Ciao for now.
Bye-bye.